The little girl tapped her spoon against her plate. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. And nobody inside the diner noticed except the biker club leader sitting in the next booth. He froze because that exact Morse code was something his late daughter used to tap for fun. Before we continue, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell in the comments where you're watching from. What he didn't know yet was that this tiny signal would drag him into the darkest secret hiding inside a picture-perfect American town, and once he stepped into it, there was no turning back. Rain hammered the diner windows like angry gravel. Cole wiped his mouth with a paper napkin and slid his empty plate away while Razor and Mouse, his brothers from the Iron Hawks, kept working through their burgers. They had been riding for 6 hours straight, and this roadside diner on Route 9 was the first open place they'd found that wasn't abandoned or burned down. Coffee tastes like motor oil, Razor muttered, still drinking it. Cole didn't answer. He watched the rain crawling down the glass, remembering another storm 3 years earlier, the night his daughter Sarah died. She was 12, always excited about Morse code she learned at summer camp. She would tap messages on his arm during dinner and laugh when he guessed wrong. 3 taps, pause, 3 more. I love you, Daddy. He was never very good at reading it. And then she was gone. Cancer took her fast, and those little taps were all he had left. Thunder cracked above the diner, rattling the silverware, and that's when he heard it again. Talp, talp. Cole's hand stopped halfway to his coffee cup. Talp, talp. The sound came from a booth behind him, slow, steady, careful. You good? Mouse asked, noticing Cole's stillness. Cole lifted one finger, listening. Talp, 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 talp. His blood ran cold. SOS. Sarah's pattern. Except this wasn't a kid playing. Someone was begging for help. Cole slid out of the booth casually, pretending to stretch, and walked toward the restroom while glancing at the booth behind them. A little girl sat squeezed between 2 men, maybe 8 years old, with messy blonde hair and a purple jacket far too big for her. Her face was pale and drained. The men beside her didn't talk to her or look at her. They just stared forward, eating silently. The girl lifted her spoon again and tapped the exact same pattern, eyes fixed on her untouched pancakes. She moved like someone carved from stone, her hand the only thing alive. Cole's heart slammed against his ribs. He had seen fights, ambushes, and friends dying on asphalt, but nothing had ever hit him like this. That little girl was shouting for help without making sound. He returned to his booth, and his brothers were already watching him closely. What's going on? Razor whispered. Cole leaned forward. The girl behind us. Blonde ponytail. She's signaling Morse code. SOS. Mouse raises eyebrows. Cole's jaw tightened. Those men are not her family. Razor glanced over his shoulder casually. Then his expression darkened. Scar across the left guy's knuckles. Fresh. The other keeps touching his waistband, probably armed. They haven't said a word to her, Cole murmured. And she's tapping that spoon like it's the last chance she's got. The waitress, Marlene, refilled their coffee and then went to the booth behind them. You folks need anything else? She asked the men. We're good. One of them grunted. How about you, sweetheart? She asked the girl. You didn't touch your pancakes. The girl didn't look up, didn't speak, just kept staring at the plate. She's fine, the other man said quickly. Just tired. Been driving a long time. Marlene hesitated, a spark of doubt in her eyes, but like most people, she stepped away because she couldn't prove anything. Cole had seen that happen 100 times. Not tonight. What's the move? Mouse whispered. The men began pulling out cash, finishing their food fast. We follow, Cole said. Quiet. No violence unless needed. We don't know who else is involved. "You sure this isn't nothing?" Razor asked. "Could be a misunderstanding." "It's not," Cole said, voice like steel. "I know what I heard." The men stood, one grabbing the girl's arm. Not rough, but controlled, pulling her to her feet. She didn't resist, didn't cry. She just moved like a puppet being dragged through life. As they walked past, her eyes flicked to Cole for half a second. In that tiny moment, he saw fear, exhaustion, and a silent plea that someone would finally notice. Then she was gone into the storm. Cole threw a 20 on the table. "Let's move." Outside, the parking lot held only their motorcycles, an old sedan, and a white cargo van with mud covering the plates. The men were loading the girl into the back. "Looks like trafficking," Razor muttered. The van engine started. Cole climbed on his Harley, rain soaking through his jacket. "Stay back. Don't spook them. We follow, see where they go, then we end it." Mouse grinned under the rain. "You just made my night a whole lot more interesting." The van pulled onto the road, and Cole waited 5 seconds before following, his brothers flanking him as thunder rolled overhead. Inside, Marlene watched the motorcycles disappear into the storm. She noticed something left behind at the girl's booth, a spoon bent at the handle like someone had been gripping it too tightly. A napkin lay under it with a single shaky word written in a child's handwriting. "Help." Inside room 7, Mouse turned the heater up while Razor checked the windows and exits, and Cole gently set Lily on the bed, wrapping a blanket around her small shoulders as he asked if she was hungry. And when she quietly shook her head, he pressed again, learning she'd barely eaten since yesterday because the men holding her only gave her crackers. He ordered a late-night pizza, then knelt in front of her and told her he needed to make an important phone call, but first he needed to know the truth about why those men said her mom worked for the sheriff, and Lily's eyes filled with tears as she explained her mom cleaned houses, including the sheriff's place, every Tuesday, until she stopped going because she saw something frightening she refused to talk about. And then strangers came to the park pretending her mom sent them. But she knew they were lying because her mom had taught her a secret spoon code to tap SOS if bad people ever took her. And she whispered that Cole was the person who heard it, which hit Cole straight in the chest because this girl's mother had prepared her for the worst, and the worst still found her, and he promised they'd find her mom. Then Cole stepped outside in the rain and called Deputy Marshal Tom Harris, a friend he hadn't talked to in years, telling him everything about the diner, the rescue, and Lily's story. And Harris warned him that Fairbridge was the center of a 6-month pattern of kids disappearing from small towns along Route 9, always labeled as runaways, always from single-parent homes, with missing files and silenced families. And he told Cole that Lily's mom might be dead, hiding, or being used as leverage, and that the sheriff's cousin ran a shady foster program that looked clean on paper, but no kid ever came out. And though Harris begged Cole not to act alone and to wait 48 hours for federal backup, Cole lied and said he would wait. But he knew he wouldn't if Lily's mother was in danger. When he returned to the room, a police cruiser rolled past, the sheriff himself grinning as his spotlight hit their bikes. And by morning, Cole was already planning a cover story, claiming the Iron Hawks were a traveling youth outreach program and even building a fake website for it. Then he went into town pretending to organize charity events while Razor and Mouse stayed hidden with Lily. And at the library, he charmed an older librarian who happily explained how wonderful Linda Garrison was, the sheriff's cousin who ran the town's foster programs. But Cole sensed something wrong beneath the perfect reputation. At the county office, a board clerk named Danny revealed that Linda supposedly housed 8 kids and received $70,000 per child each year, yet none of them ever appeared in school or around town. And even stranger, She owned an old abandoned meat processing plant on the county line, which made Cole's gut twist because it was the perfect hidden location for something terrible. And when he stepped outside, he saw the sheriff watching him from the station window with that same unsettling smile. Cole rushed back to the motel as black SUVs began circling, and Harris called to warn him the FBI had received an anonymous tip accusing the Iron Hawks of trafficking children, complete with staged photos of Cole carrying Lily, clearly part of a setup to destroy their club and frame them as the kidnappers while the real criminals hid behind them. And Harris revealed that the Dead Ravens Motorcycle Club had unknowingly escorted white vans as part of this scheme, becoming scapegoats just like the Hawks. Then Mouse called frantic, saying masked bikers attacked the motel, injuring Razor and leaving behind a planted Ravens patch meant to spark a bloody gang war. And Cole realized someone wanted the two clubs to destroy each other while the sheriff erased all evidence. Cole rode alone to the Dead Ravens clubhouse, walked in unarmed, and confronted their president, Tate Morrison, telling him everything about the fake attacks, the sheriff's operation, the missing kids, and how both clubs were being used as cover for trafficking. And after a tense silence, Tate finally shook Cole's hand and agreed to hear the proof. Riding with Cole toward the hidden safe house where Lily was waiting, thunder rolling overhead as the storm returned and Fairbridge's secrets began to crack wide open. Cole and Tate rode through the storm toward the safe house, the night lit only by lightning and the bright slash of their headlights. And as they neared the hidden cabin where Mouse was watching Lily, Cole felt that tight pull in his gut, the one that warned him something was already wrong. And when they arrived, the door was cracked open, the lights off, and Mouse was lying on the floor with a cut across his forehead, groggy but conscious enough to whisper that the sheriff's men had taken Lily. Less than 5 minutes earlier, they'd hit fast, wearing masks, using stun guns, and dragging her out before Mouse or the half-healed Razor could stop them. And Cole felt something inside him snap, because after everything, after every mile and every risk, the girl who had tapped SOS at a diner table was now deeper in the sheriff's hands than ever. Cole helped Mouse up, grabbed Razor, and they regrouped with Tate outside, rain pouring off their leather as Tate revealed the Ravens had intercepted radio chatter earlier, something about moving cargo to the processing plant before sunrise. And Cole realized that was the same abandoned building Linda Garrison owned, the place that had made his stomach twist back in town. And now he knew it wasn't just a hiding spot, but the center of everything the sheriff was running. They rode hard toward the plant, engines screaming, water spraying from their tires as they carved through the flooded road and into the dark valley where the old building sat like a dead giant with broken windows and rusted metal doors. From far off they saw headlights, 3 black SUVs, and Cole recognized the sheriff's cruiser among them, parked like a king in front of his castle of secrets. Cole, bruised and soaked, told Tate the plan had to be quiet at first, that they needed eyes inside, and Tate surprised him by revealing the Ravens had already called in a few off-duty bikers who owed favors, men stationed around the tree line with rifles trained on the exits in case things went loud, which made Cole nod because tonight loud felt inevitable. They crept closer through the rain, slipping in through a broken side window, and once inside, the smell hit them immediately. Bleach, old blood, cold metal. And a long hallway stretched into darkness with faint voices echoing at the far end. Cole motioned for Tate to take the right while he and Razor flanked left, moving with that silent coordination bikers develop over years of bar fights and survival. And as Cole peeked around a corner, he saw Lily in a small room, tied to a chair, a blanket. Around her shoulders, facing the sheriff and Linda Garrison as they argued, Linda insisting they had to move her before the buyers arrived at dawn, and the sheriff snapping that this one wasn't going anywhere because she'd attracted too much noise, too many eyes, and that the van attack had already put feds sniffing around. Cole felt fire rip through his chest at the word buyers, and he didn't wait for a signal. He moved, bursting from the shadows like a storm, tackling the sheriff to the ground as Razor charged Linda, and Tate's men smashed through the opposite door. The room erupted into chaos, fists flying, bodies smashing into metal tables, and Lily screamed when the sheriff drew a knife and slashed at Cole, cutting across his shoulder, but Cole didn't stop. He grabbed the sheriff's wrist, twisted until bone, cracked, and drove him into the wall so hard the plaster split. Linda tried to run, but Tate caught her and slammed her down, yelling that he'd lost 2 nephews in the last year, and now he knew why. And she screamed that the town needed money, that the sheriff needed leverage, that the kids were better off helping powerful men than living poor and forgotten, but Tate didn't let her finish before knocking her out cold with one punch. Cole cut Lily free and lifted her into his arms, telling her she was safe now. He promised, and she pressed her face into his neck, trembling but alive. But before they could escape, engines roared outside. More SUVs, backups the sheriff had called before Cole arrived, and within seconds armed men flooded the hallway, forcing Cole, Tate, and the others to dive behind metal crates as bullets tore through the walls. They were pinned until Mouse and a group of ravens appeared behind the attackers, opening fire and driving the sheriff's men into retreat. The bikers chased them out into the yard where headlights flashed and sirens wailed. Not from the sheriff's allies, but from federal agents arriving in full force, led by Harris, who sprinted toward Cole shouting that an anonymous tip had exposed the entire operation. The sheriff, wounded and bleeding, tried to flee, but Razor tackled him into the mud where agents cuffed him and shoved him into a cruiser. And for the first time that night, the storm began to ease. Hours later, Lily was wrapped in a warm blanket in the back of Harris's SUV, safe, fed, and reunited with her mother, shaken but alive, who had been hiding after refusing to help the sheriff destroy evidence months earlier. She hugged Cole with tears streaming down her face, whispering that she would never forget what he did, and Lily gripped Cole's hand, tapping gently once, twice, 3 times in thanks. At sunrise, when the agents cleared the property and the last cruiser drove away, Cole stood with his brothers and Tate's crew outside the ruined plant, the sky turning orange over Fairbridge, and Tate shook his hand, telling him the Hawks and Ravens owed each other nothing now, that this made them even, and for once Cole believed there might actually be peace between the clubs. As the bikes roared back onto the open road, Lily waved from her mother's arms, and Cole felt something in his chest loosen, a weight he'd carried since Sarah died, because tonight he had saved a child who needed him, a child who tapped for help the same way his daughter once had, and for the first time in 3 years, the ghosts inside him finally went quiet.